Is that me gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
Here. This is what you're looking for, right?
Oh, my eyes, startling, help!
I'm the leprechaun. Garth, I'm the leprechaun.
Cool it, okay?
I'm the leprechaun.
Stop it, all right?
Don't try and steal me, pot of gold.
Top of the evening, Chicago. It's St. Patrick's Day week. Everybody already started drinking and celebrating over the weekend. It was a good thing that they did get a head start on the drinking because we've got a motherload of stories for tonight to share with all of you. Welcome to another Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. And I want to welcome my co-hosts. Let me get them queued up here. My co-hosts, Mr. Kit Cabello.
Salutations, everyone.
And Mr. Edward Heller.
Beware the Ides of Lightfoot, March.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. Honestly, guys, I hope everyone's gonna have a safe St. Patty's Day's week. Please be safe out there, folks. And if you see any leprechauns, run for your life. Run for your life.
The gold is just worth it. It's not worth it, man.
That was Lori Leprechaun out doing her. I guess it's not even annual anymore. I think it's like monthly or weekly cosplay, depending on what's going on in the city of Chicago at the St. Patrick's Day parade downtown. Look, we all have to have fun celebrating holidays, and I do not dismiss anybody, or I don't mock anybody who likes to get dressed up for, Halloween or cosplay. But Mayor Lightfoot is making this like a regular habit, and it really, really, really is starting to alarm me. With her choices as the leader of the city of Chicago, I probably, could we imagine if Rahm Emanuel had engaged in that, or Mayor Daley, or any of our representatives, leaders?
No, I don't want to, and I'll tell you why. Because it's creepy. It's wrong.
It's very
creepy. The thing is, Lightfoot has a track record of doing stuff like this. And, I could see a politician maybe doing something for like charity or something, like, once in a blue moon or 2 years or something like that. Like, all right, put on a costume, fun, whatever. Here we go. Lightfoot, it's almost like every kind of occasion there is. It's like, fucking hey, stop being a clown. Stop being a clown. There's something wrong with her mentally.
She loves the attention that it draws to her as one of the things that is what's alarming to me. It's like, if you've got a serious job that she does, and we're going to get into later on in the show, there's a story, with the seriousness of the job she has, where she's decided to prioritize this week in light of some city business that had to be taken care of. How can she expect to be taken seriously?
I don't take her serious.
Well, we don't. I know we don't, but
imagine any of the former mayors dressing up as the Rona Destroyer.
I would have liked to have seen Rahm dress up like that. In fact, I think I'm going to have to do some Photoshop.
Could you even picture Richard M. Daley like wearing like a superhero mask and a costume like that?
I could imagine Richard Daley dressing up as an Irish leprechaun, though. That would have actually made sense given his Irish background, right? But
I should be laughing as hard as I should about this. This is not right. This is not right. This could get us in trouble.
Why? What did you get? With my comment or something you saw in the chat?
No. Just like there's so much comedic gold about this because these politicians are all scumbags. Lightfoot especially. And, as the city is entering into summer, everyone is, still on edge with this horrifying conflict that's happening in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we're still dealing with the remnants, dare I say. I think people have forgotten about the pandemic at this point. But we're still dealing with the aftermath of 2.5 years of this pandemic. And the city's still struggling. You got schools being shut down, people struggling to make ends meet. You have an inflation hitting us nationwide. And in this city, inflation is downright a death blow to a lot of communities in this city, from the north side, south side, and west side. And what is our fantastic mayor doing? Playing dress up, having fun, laughing, while millions of Chicagoans are wondering how they're going to keep the lights on, how they're going to provide for their families, put food on the table, take care of the bills. This mayor is acting like a clown and, dare I say it, disrespecting our city. She doesn't take the job serious at all, and she never has.
Kit, you always manage to channel your righteous indignation to represent mine. I absolutely cannot agree with you more.
He's definitely getting at least 75% of the city's rage.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
but you know who is? But you know who is going to be safe though.
I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal, and I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
Just days after being sentenced in a hate crime hoax, actor Jessie Smallett is reportedly being held in a jail psych ward. Smallett's brother is making the claim on Instagram, adding the actor was falsely labeled as a risk of self-harm. Smallett is serving a 150-day sentence for lying to police.
He wasn't suicidal, but now he's in a psych ward on suicide watch.
Well, that kind of happens when you say it over and over again.
Yeah.
They're gonna. I mean,
he's got the privilege to accompany the special treatment he's getting after literally trying to inflame a race war here in Chicago by claiming he was the victim of a hate crime during what was already a powder keg in Chicago, right? So I just, look, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this clown, but I did want to do a little bit of an update. And Oreo, please get your butt out of my face. Given we covered this with a lot of entertainment value and amusement last week. Although, look, there are some very, very serious repercussions. Say hello to everybody before I put you on the floor. Say hi. There are some very, very serious repercussions to what this clown pulled. Specifically, as I mentioned a moment ago, to actual victims of hate crimes, women who are assaulted, anybody that's victimized. This guy decided to play that card to promote himself. He does anybody he wants to claim to represent no good in allowing people now to point at him and say, why should we believe you when this is what people do to get attention? That's what is most serious about the situation with him, as much as we laugh about him, because he is just an utterly unrepentant narcissist and an entitled entertainer. I mean, the way that they're just coddling this asshole after it was very, very clear. I'm sorry, where was it done? In Streeterville? You don't normally white people don't normally wander around at night in Streeterville with MAGA hats with Clorox bleach and a rope. So clearly he didn't think out the narrative ahead of time if he wanted to state us. But, beyond that, as the entertainment value derived by how stupid he was, he really, really has made things worse for anybody that is the victim of any kind of a hate crime or any kind of an assault. And let me get to the story real quick before we can comment on it and move on. Smollett's attorneys file an emergency motion to pause the jail sentence. Remember, he respected the judge's decision, but now he wants them to pause the jail sentence so he can get out, even though he respected the court in his outburst. Former Empire actor Jessie Smallett is being held in a Cook County jail psychiatric ward due to being at risk of self-harm. Jessie Smollett's legal team has filed an emergency motion asking the Illinois Appellate Court to pause the former Empire actor's 150-day jail sentence as he appeals his conviction on 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct for faking a hate crime against himself and lying about it to police. Smallett is being held in a Cook County jail psychiatric ward where a note posted on his jail cell says he is at risk of self-harm, according to his brother, Jerry Vasilatos. What's very concerning is that there is a note attached to his jail cell saying that he is at risk of self-harm. I just want to make it clear to folks that he is in no way, shape, or form at risk of self-harm. And he wants folks to know that. He is, as we saw in that video, very stable. He is very strong. He is very healthy and very ready to take on the challenge that is ultimately put against him, Jerry Vasilatos said in an Instagram video post. Actually, let me run his video. I didn't realize there was a video. Let's see what his. Oh, sorry for this guy's family that they've got to defend and cover up for this clown.
So Jessie is currently in a psych ward at Cook County Jail. What's very concerning is that there was a note attached to his paperwork today and put on the front of his jail cell saying that he's at risk of self-harm. I want to just make it clear to folks that he is in no way, shape, or form at risk of self-harm. And he wants to let folks know that he...
Okay, whatever, we heard that. Smollett's request to pause his sentence or be released on bail, pending appeal. Now, remember, this guy didn't want to pay the fine last year. That's why the city decided to press on and take him to court. His request to pause his sentence or be released on bail pending appeal argues that because his appeal will likely take longer than the duration of his jail sentence would cause him irreparable harm if his appeal is successful. They're expecting his appeal is going to be successful, so he shouldn't be punished now. His lawyers also claim that serving jail time in protective custody, which they call a euphemism for solitary confinement, creates a setting that could extremely damage his mental health, according to court documents. Extremely damage his mental health. It's not already damaged. Smollett's appeal will allegedly, Smollett's appeal will argue that his conviction should be overturned due to 14 errors, including a double jeopardy claim that argues a trial judge signed off on a deal that required the actor to forfeit his $10,000 bond and perform community service. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Yeah, he's afraid of being Epsteined, as Little also mentions here.
Someone said maybe the reason.
We can't necessarily say that Hillary put him up to it. In fact, we have no evidence of anyone having actually put him up to the stunt. But there were some coincidences that I think we had touched on an earlier episode of Chicago Corner. I know at the time that this incident happened, some people in Congress were trying to push through an anti-lynching legislation,
right?
And we don't know for certain if anybody had been encouraged to help push that along by creating a certain stunt,
right?
So we don't know. We don't know. We don't have evidence to this, but we can guess.
I did hear. I'm glad you touched upon that because I forgot about it until you brought it up. But I did read. Perhaps he's freaking out because of people he knows or things that he knows while he's in there, and maybe some people might think he might squeal on some other things. Therefore, he needs to be quieted down. But that's a very
protected.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
All right, let's look at the situation with Jessie Smallett. All right. Let's look at his entire thing that happened. What started this? This was 2019 when this happened. Apparently, in freezing temperature, at like around 2 a.m. in the morning, when it's really cold, Jessie wanted to get a sandwich at Subway. Okay. At 2 a.m. All right. And then two white guys wearing Trump hats, MAGA hats, basically saying, "Are you that guy from Empire?" I'm not going to say the words because that'll get us flagged on YouTube.
David Chappelle very nicely recreated the moment on a YouTube animation.
I'm trying to do all my best. And the thing is, look, when I first heard it, I want to be like, okay, let's do a due process. Let's find out what happened. On the other hand, though, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, who in this city goes out at 2 a.m. in the morning to get a Subway sandwich, and you are a celebrity? You can get gourmet meals. You're with Empire, for fuck's sake. Most popular show at the time. 2019, it's already a powder keg already with politics, with Trump in the White House during that time. And let's face it, this was a lie. He lied. And this story blew out of proportion. Now, there is a possibility that, there's something else really wrong with Jessie. He could be a narcissist of the highest level, but he could also be sick mentally, and he needs to get that treatment. But he wasted a lot of people's time, and also he raised up emotions in this country that are still very, very raw for a lot of people. He needs to be held accountable for his lie. He lied. Now, there are others saying that this sentence was too harsh. He's a celebrity. He's going to get back on his feet somehow, some way. But he lied. And he made this environment that much harsher for individuals who do come forward who have been victims of hate crimes or of abuse, physical abuse, where women have to deal with that kind of abuse, or children have to deal with that kind of abuse. Jessie severely damaged a lot of people and hurt a lot of people through his lie. He must be held accountable. He must not be given a get out of jail free card. He must atone for what he's done. And when you tell a lie, you must be held accountable for your lie. And Jessie must serve his sentence. Simple as that. He got caught.
What troubles me, also, let me also parse that, though. Let me also just make one correction to the record. Although I'm not a celebrity, I do enjoy going out at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning for Subway sandwiches every once in a while. But I don't need to worry about guys in, I guess, MAGA hats attacking me.
Although, I mean, and it has been a while since I used to party in the Streeterville area, but the move late night at 2 a.m. is the 24-hour Mickey D's, honestly.
That's true, too.
And that's not an endorsement or anything. It's just sometimes you just need those French fries.
And not to mention, who's at 2 a.m. wearing a MAGA hat? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's a lie.
Kit, they had the rope and the bleach with them. I mean, once he
who cares? Rope and bleach
walks around like yeah. But what troubles me even more though is seeing a lot of people on social media, because of the work that he's done I guess he's done some good work in the past. I'm not going to take that away from him. For the LGBTQ community, for the victims of AIDS. I mean, look, I'll give him some credit for the fact that as a celebrity, he's used the celebrity in the past to do some good. But those people who are looking at that as an excuse to defend what he just did here, in light of everything we just discussed, this was a powder keg. The city was a powder keg at the time that this happened. And to decide he's going to do this to maybe push back against that anti-lynching legislation you guys were talking about earlier, or to enrich himself because, I think he was up for contract renegotiation at that time. I don't watch Empire. I don't remember if he was going off the show or what was going on. But some serious lapses in judgment.
Well, I think also what he was trying to do, let's face it, because people are saying, Gino says he's an actor. He doesn't have no mental illness. He played a game and lost. He could have been trying to renegotiate his salary too. Let's face it, it's all a game with a lot of these individuals who eventually, because remember, when shows start off, there's a good. I mean, Jerry, you have been in show business longer than I have, so you know more about the inside game than I do. So let me. So real quick, and correct me because I know you'll have more point on this one. But when a show's starting off, it's not a guarantee that it's going to be renewed next season or season afterwards, and the actors are not really given a big salary. And if they are able to, and the show's success, and people love the show and the storyline and characters, then the actors can negotiate their salary, have more screen time, all that other kind of good stuff. And Empire at the time, very successful show. Everyone was raving about it, and this could have been Jessie's attempt to maybe, well, look, I was a victim of this, and I should have more showtime here. I mean, we could speculate. This is a big what if, but I could see that being a motive, because it's at the end of the day, it wasn't 2 white guys that did this to Jessie. It was 2 Nigerian immigrants that he hired.
Yep. And I would say this too. If Jessie were a white celebrity actor and he came out and made claims that, he was attacked by 2 black attackers and all the details came out, I would be just as critical. This is not a race. This is about really bad judgment. And to the point that I spent 10 years working in Los Angeles, guys, these celebrities' images are very carefully managed. You would be shocked at how many celebrities or actors and actresses that you admire got some really serious damage going on. I mean, I'm sure that you can assume from what we see in the news.
Yeah, of course.
But, but with this guy, well, let's quickly shift attention or just shift the topic to G.I. Joe here in Illinois. Remember how
right.
Using the same kind. Now, he offed himself, but he decided to create a narrative to enrich his wife after his suicide because attention was being put on him for illegal stuff he was doing after everybody thought that this guy was a real straight shooter, a straight arrow.
He basically before he offed himself, he made him like he was following 2 white guys, 1 black male.
The black guy was in there, yeah.
Yeah, there was one black male, 2 white men, and he said he was engaged, and he actually engaged in a whole kind of mock fight that was going on. Even though officers who arrived on the scene realized, wait a minute, this is suicide. They still did the search, and there were 2 white men that were picked up and 1 black man that was picked up. But the thing is, the 2 white guys didn't know the black guy, and the other thing too is they had some physical ailments with them, all 3 of them, to where they couldn't really engage with a fit police officer. So already through, again, G.I. Joe Glenowitz's lie, and this is way back in 2015, he put the lives of those 3 people, as well as anyone else that could potentially be pulled over by the police, at risk because of that lie. Jessie Smollett's lie is just as bad because he was doing this in a city already. Trump in the White House. City's already a powder keg ready to explode. So many things are happening already, and this is also beginning, or like this was leading up to the summer, to where again we're seeing the mobility of Black Lives Matter rise up, as well as a lot of other activist groups. This is just a recipe for disaster. Jessie Smollett lied. He did this for his image, and he needs to be held accountable. Simple as that.
Just imagine how much time could have been saved from the circus guys had this woman done her job at the time.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, as we shift into our next story, while she didn't want to really examine or hold Mr. Smallett accountable, seems now she doesn't want to hold the police accountable that were involved in the shootings of Adam Toledo and Anthony Alvarez. We saw that we're a year out from this now. It's funny, I always remark on that, but to look at stories that I had an opportunity to cover with you guys last year when I first joined Hardlands Media and came over here on Chicago Corner and see how much has happened in a year's time. Let me go into the details here, which are profoundly disappointing and tragic, given the facts that we all saw in those police videos. Go ahead, kid.
I want to let everyone know that Jerry and I, before we went live, we watched the video of what happened to Adam Toledo. It is still disturbing to watch, and the fact that Lori Lightfoot went in front of the press, I really can't talk about what I saw. What do you mean you can't talk about what you saw, Mayor Lightfoot? We saw a young boy get shot in the back, not armed at all. Anyways,
in the Alvarez case, yeah. Let me go into the article as reported by David Struett.
And if you did see that video, I mean, you'd never forget it. It's pretty disturbing.
I saw the unedited video of the Adam Toledo one where they didn't mosaic his face, and I'm haunted by it. I shouldn't have been brought up because it's just it's so disturbing and so tragic to see the life literally leaving a person's body in real time as if you're there witnessing it. All right, so David Struett this is coming from the Chicago Sun-Times. State's Attorney Kim Foxx made the announcement Tuesday, almost a year after Chicago police officers shot and killed Toledo and Alvarez in separate incidents. She said she will not file criminal charges against Chicago police officers in the shooting deaths of 13-year-old Adam Toledo and 22-year-old Anthony Alvarez last year. Looks like maybe she's trying to score some points with the cops now, I think. That's just my speculation. But Foxx made the announcement almost a year after the officers shot and killed Toledo and Alvarez in separate incidents in March. This is a somber announcement. There are no winners in this situation, Foxx said. While Foxx said her office's investigation and a review by an outside agency found no evidence to support criminal charges, she said officers in both cases had created the conditions that led to the shootings. So why aren't you trying to figure out what kind of action to take? Like she couldn't figure out what kind of action to take when Jessie Smollett decided to make up his story in our last story we covered. Both deaths sparked outrage over police use of force, with calls for a moratorium on police foot pursuits. It also prompted protests as hundreds of people marched in Logan Square. Last month, the Chicago Police Department unveiled an updated foot pursuit policy designed to prevent similar police shootings in the future. Let's talk about the Adam Toledo shooting. And we're going to quickly scroll past that quick image just to remind people. In the shooting of the 13-year-old, based on the facts, the evidence, and the law, we found that there's no evidence to prove that Officer Eric Stillman acted with criminal intent, Foxx said. I agree with that. I don't think that there was any criminal intent there. I think it was bad judgment to decide to chase him down the alley, pushing past people to catch up with him and escalate the situation to what we saw happen. Stillman was wearing a body camera that shows him chasing the teen down an alley in Little Village on March 29th. The officer orders him to stop and show his hands. Video shows Adam standing sideways in a large gap in a wooden fence with what looks like a gun in one of his hands behind his back. The officer's on the other side of the alley. He yells, "Drop it." In less than a second, Adam drops the gun and raises his hands as the officer fires. Adam crumples to the ground, and the officer calls for an ambulance and performs CPR. Foxx said that while the officer may have violated CPD's chase policy, the investigation by the state's attorney's office found that criminal charges were not warranted. And I also want to say here, having watched the whole video and watched the officer's behavior after it happened, I'm not as outraged as I am witnessing what happened in the Alvarez shooting. They're both horrible things, okay? I don't think the officer engaged in criminal intent. He shouldn't have escalated it, shouldn't have gone to the point where we saw it happen. But I give a little benefit of the doubt to that situation, the Alvarez shooting, because Alvarez was literally shot in the back by this yellow belly cop who chased him. And let's go into what happened there. Foxx said charges would also not be filed in the March 31st shooting of Alvarez on the Northwest Side. He said our office considered if it should file first or second-degree murder charges against the officer, but that Officer Evan Solano had reasonably believed he was in danger at the time of the shooting. How? We saw the video, right? How? Foxx said the officers initiated the chase that led to this fatal shooting because of a traffic infraction the night before. The officers were aware of Mr. Alvarez's home address and could have sought to contact him there, Foxx said. We got into the situation because of the actions of the officers initially. It was the escalation of events that gets us to our final conclusion. Solano shot Alvarez several times from behind in the 5200th block of West Eddy Street. In footage captured by Solano's body camera, a gun can be seen in Alvarez's right hand, but the video never shows Alvarez pointing the weapon towards officers. As he ran from the officers, he slipped and fell and was getting up. As Solano came upon him, Foxx said to the officer, it looked like Alvarez was crouching and waiting to ambush the officer. She said, it didn't look like that to me, but that's my opinion. Tanya Dimitrova, an attorney for the Alvarez family, said they are saddened and disappointed in the Cook County State's attorney's decision not to bring forth criminal charges. Family members are committed in their efforts to bring justice for Anthony, which includes holding the Chicago police officers involved in the shooting accountable for their actions, Dimitrova said in a statement. We hope that Kim Foxx and her office continue their investigation into the reckless and inexcusable conduct of Officer Evan Solano. I completely agree there. Because again, I think in the case with Solano, and I guess this guy Solano also had a record of like questionable behavior as a police officer. And while I'm on the fence about the Toledo shooting, should that be criminal charges? I think that criminal charges should be filed in the case of this cop Solano and what happened to Alvarez. No question whatsoever, given what we saw in the video. And actually, there was a screen grab here that I guess is not going to pop up and cooperate with us. That's why I'm kind of scrolling through here. But anyway, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability had released a series of videos from police-worn body cameras as well as cameras from a nearby home. Alvarez was approached by the officers at a gas station the day after the officers had tried to arrest Alvarez for a traffic stop. The encounter escalated to a foot pursuit that began in the 3500th block of North Laramie Avenue. Video shows Solano yelling, drop the gun, before firing 5 shots from close range at Alvarez. Video shows Alvarez with a gun in his right hand, but the gun drops from his hand as he falls to the pavement. In April of 2021, COPA recommended Solano be relieved of police powers during the investigation of the Alvarez shooting, a rare move that would mean the officer would be placed on paid desk duty after a standard 30-day leave. I think what I'm remembering is after that, while he was on leave, he was involved in some kind of a road rage incident where he got out of his car. He was honking at somebody.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right?
Yeah, there's actual video of that somewhere.
And thankfully, there were people on the street who were taking video. Who knows how the fuck that would have escalated? Because he had a hot head because the person in front of him wasn't turning right fast enough. And he decided to get out of his car and confront the motorist in front of him. COPA concluded its investigation at the end of January, and Police Superintendent David Brown was expected to come to a decision on the officer's status this month. Foxx said she had spoken recently to Alvarez's family and that his family was heartbroken that no charges would be filed against the officer. They didn't think the criminal court system would hold the officer accountable, Foxx said. They had many, many questions. They seemed resigned to the decision my office made. She's got to get out.
Yeah.
She has to be replaced.
They all have to be replaced. Every single one of these scumbags.
I say that as someone who voted for her. I was wrong. I made a mistake, as I did with Lightfoot. Okay?
Join the club.
We gave these people the benefit of the doubt, and this is how they perform.
And this is why we're building this channel up, so that we can start interviewing candidates and people who actually want to do good. I think it's long overdue that we have some accountability for the people of Chicago, because these scumbag politicians are getting away with it. They're allowing corruption to run unchecked. They're allowing police corruption to run unchecked, and they're okay with it. They're okay with their half-ass attitude with running the city and putting the people's lives in jeopardy. There's no accountability. So what do? We got to get these scumbags out of office. Simple as that. There's no redeeming these people.
No, there's no redemption. Local, state, federal. Oh, by the way, I want to thank you so much for covering that story. I shared the link with you about these representatives who are war profiteering off the information they got.
They're all scumbags. Thank you for finding that. I delved deeper into that and looked at a couple other links into that because in the 2021 chart, I wish I had more time to cover it.
Oh, you did you did a thorough job, and I was very, very. I was excited and happy that you spent so much time on it, Kit. It was an excellent report, and you guys can find it on the Hardlands Media channel. It has been subclipped. Great segment. I really enjoyed it. But this is speaking to the scumminess of all of these people who are enriching themselves on the public dole, acting as our leaders instead of our representatives, and only enriching themselves. As kind of shifting quickly back to the Jessie Smallett situation. I guess Kim Foxx was friends with his aunt or something, and his aunt was friends with someone with Kamala. Was it Kamala Harris? There was a couple degrees of separation between Jessie's relatives, and a lot of people were speculating. Here she is giving special treatment to Jessie because of her political connections. Now, great comment in the chat from Kathy, our friend of the show. Which crimes were more heinous, Jessie or CPD? Who should be held to a higher standard?
Okay, here's the thing. What the Chicago says, no doubt, there's a lot of unchecked corruption with the Chicago Police Department.
Yep.
All right, they need to be held to much more higher accountability. Jesse Smallett lied. He's a liar, but he's not the person in charge of protecting the citizens of the city of Chicago. The CPD has been running unchecked. In 2017, Daniel Upper and I did a coverage of the Exoneration Project, where 16 black men were exonerated for crimes they did not commit. That was done by 4 corrupt Chicago police officers. And here's the depressing thing. That wasn't even scratching the surface. That was dusting off the surface. There are probably thousands upon thousands of innocent men and women that are locked up for crimes they didn't commit, not to mention nonviolent drug offenders as well.
Well, I think that's what Kathy's point was, is that while, we look at Jessie as a clown, who should be held to the higher standard, these cops should be.
Yeah,
and they should be held more accountable in a way that there is some repercussions for their bad judgments and what happened here. The article goes on to say from the Sun-Times, Solano was also the subject of an internal police probe after a viral video recorded last May showed him exiting a red Ford Mustang and confronting a man with his gun. I forgot about the fact he pulled his gun out in Logan Square. An incident the Alvarez family said should be more closely scrutinized. Solano began working as a probationary police officer with the department in 2015, but since his start has had nearly a dozen investigations launched into his actions from CPD's Bureau of Internal Affairs and COPA, according to his personal records obtained by the Sun-Times. Now, this is why I'm much more outraged at the fact that they haven't done anything about Solano, where I'm a little bit lesser about the officer involved in the Toledo shooting, because apparently the officer involved in the Toledo shooting, no record of any misconduct or any record of bad judgment in the past. I'm not excusing what happened. Please understand that. But when you look at the records and the history of people, I know that you can't relate something prior to the crime being examined at present, but when you see patterns, it certainly should factor in to determining whether or not you've got a hothead who's going to be put back in the field and possibly cause more trouble, or if this was a really tragic error of judgment, as I think it was in the Toledo situation. But what do you guys think? Ed, thoughts?
I don't know what more we can add.
Okay, that's cool. I don't want to filibuster.
No. Here's the thing: we're dealing with a situation where you have a lack of accountability from anyone here in the city of Chicago, and the sad fact is that we need not just reform, we need to overhaul the entire political system so that we can actually bring in protection and real peace to the citizens of this city. And so long as these politicians are allowed to get away with everything, nothing's going to change. And until the people step up and say no more, we're going to still be dealing with this nightmare.
Well, let's shift into our next story and see what the Chicago Police's plan is for, I guess, reforming their reputation in light of these situations we just talked about. The Illinois Attorney General thinks it's a problem, and I don't disagree. This is reported also by the Sun-Times, Tom Schulba and Andy Boyle. Chicago police plan for $1.5 million positive interactions. Oh, thank you, Sun-Times. Okay, I'm going to have to take this screen down because we got the paywall. But I do have the report up in my Safari browser where I can read it without the Sun-Times deciding to block the visual. We have to go with the story. The state agency is, if you want. Let's go. Yeah, I mean you can try. I mean I've got the story up where I can read it on the right here on my other screen. So let me go into it. The state agency is warning the Attorney General that Police Superintendent David Brown's goal for bolstering community engagement amounts to a quota system that's rife with significant downsides. Thank you for bringing that up, Ed. Nice picture of a Chicago police officer helping pour pop into cups for kids in the 6400th block of South Cicero Avenue last May. Let's hope he's one of the good guys. 4 days after Chicago closed the book on its most violent year in a quarter century, Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Police Superintendent David Brown pinned their hopes on a novel crime-fighting approach. Brown, Lightfoot's choice to usher in court-ordered reforms outlined in a federal consent decree, set a goal for the year of logging at least 1.5 million positive community interactions, or PCIs, a threefold increase from 2021. The effort to prioritize such exchanges, like helping change a tire or giving directions, was presented as a way to build trust and crack cases. And you know what? I don't think that's such a bad idea. I do think part of this speaks to building bridges, interacting with the community, although, you know, it's interesting. I was actually talking about this with my parents and my sister over the weekend when we had dinner, talking about these police escalation situations and gang violence and crime. And I put forth what I think would be a great way to deal with this. I think that this would be a great solution. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's great that we require our Chicago police officers to live within the city of Chicago, right? Can't be like New York, where they leave Manhattan and go to Copland out in New Jersey.
Yeah, they should definitely live where they patrol.
Exactly. If you have officers living where they patrol, they're not going to be looking at their neighbors as scary threats. They're going to be looking at their neighbors, and their neighbors are going to be looking at them as, hey, there's my neighbor who's a cop. He's here to help us. That cop is going to be invested in the community and building interaction and trust with the community if he lives there. Now, I know that some might argue, well, he might be more of a target for the gangs if they know where he lives or she lives. I disagree with that. I think that if you carefully figure out how to integrate that type of a program where you do require police, I know you're going to have to shuffle people around the city, so what? I really think that as well as this quote here, you know, helping citizens change tires or giving directions is a step in the right direction. Now, it's interesting, though, you know, to see where the Attorney General feels that. I think it's the quota part of this that could be an issue. But
Yeah, because at this point, I mean, making it like a good deeds quota for the police department kind of feels like you're forcing them to eat their vegetables off the plate.
And we know how police officers don't like to have other people give them orders.
They don't like people telling them what to do. Which is, it's like you should be wanting to help the public if you're going to be a police officer. It shouldn't be like pulling teeth to have to do this kind of stuff.
And you shouldn't be looking at everybody as a threat and it's us against them. And our prime goal, one of their goals should be to get home safely every night. I don't think that shouldn't be on their minds. But when that is ingrained in them in police culture, do whatever you can to get home safe at night and that's it. That therein lies the problem with what the priorities are and where they lose sight of the privilege that they're supposed to recognize that they have, protecting the population, protecting the citizens, working with us. Kathy Powers shares, ask Jamal Green about these cops. It would turn your pea green. Yeah. What do you expect? They're all paid to play. Real non-dark money candidates can't afford to run. The article goes on, the reporting goes on, the department has encouraged community outreach for years, but has never enforced it at such levels. A Sun Times investigation now raises serious questions about Brown's plan and even its legality. While officers must record each interaction, they often leave out crucial information that makes it virtually impossible for the department to verify that an account is accurate, according to a review of internal records. Many records are missing the officer's name or their star number. Others don't give detailed information about the location where the PCI occurred. And
but that makes it easier for them to get up to their quota, Jerry.
You think?
If they don't have to provide details, it's like when I was frisking this kid over here, I didn't like push him too hard against the wall. I'll chalk that up as one positive interaction.
You sound like you don't trust cops, Ed.
I'm not saying that at all, Jerry. I don't know where you could get that from.
And not a single record contains information about who was helped or what made the interaction positive. The state's attorney general's office found so many problems with the program that it urged the city's lawyers to suspend or at least pause the efforts to notch 1.5 million interactions, calling it a quota system that is rife with significant downsides. As you are likely aware, a February 7th memo obtained by the Sun-Times says the use of quotas in law enforcement, whether described as goals, targets, performance standards, or activity metrics, is deeply problematic.
Deeply problematic.
Setting such a high, I should try talking more like that, lowering my voice. Sounds a little, I just don't have the pipes for radio or TV like Ed does.
Radio voice. There you go.
Radio.
We could do a lip sync for the next couple paragraphs if you want.
You want me to lip sync and you read it for me?
Yeah, you want to try?
Yeah.
Guys.
Okay. It'll take too long. All right.
Setting such a high, ill-defined goal could even backfire, tempting officers to coast after reaching their targets, counter to the spirit of community policing, according to the memo.
The Attorney General's office, that was actually not too bad. Okay, we got to be serious here. The Attorney General's office, which is overseeing City Hall's compliance with the consent decree, along with a federal monitor, sent the memo in response to a policy proposal submitted by the Chicago Police Department that sought to more clearly define PCIs and offer guidance to the officers tasked with conducting them. In a lengthy list of comments and recommendations, the Attorney General's office urged the police departments to avoid using crude performance measures that exclude the quality of interactions and risk having officers treat community members as statistics to be collected and not as human beings with problems, concerns, and needs. What is the quota? 104 PCIs a day for a single cop?
That seems like a lot, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what the article...
I mean, if it's not your default as a cop to do, positive stuff.
Which it doesn't seem it is most of the time. But the department began conducting PCIs under former Superintendent Gary McCarthy. They have become a part of a broader shift towards community policing, an approach increasingly embraced by law enforcement agencies nationwide. A department directive describes them as brief, spontaneous, high-visibility encounters that are positive, informative, helpful, or constructive in nature. PCIs reported by officers spiked in the weeks after Lightfoot and Brown announced the goal of 1.5 million, according to a Sun-Times analysis of data obtained through an open records request. Through January 20th, the latest data provided, the police had logged almost 3 times as many PCIs per day in 2022 on average compared to 2021. Oh, I think this 104 PCIs a day is referring to them logging them, but the question, did they really happen? In the first 20 days of this year, they logged 78,560 PCIs, up from 3,341 in 2021, just before last year's program started to ramp up. But information about each interaction often is missing, key data that would be needed for any audit of how the program was performing. For example, take Officer Sergio Pacheco from the Ogden District on the West Side. He logged 1,565 PCIs during the first 20 days of this year, more than double the officer who came in second. They were reported over just 15 days, giving him an average of 104 PCIs a day. That's where this particular paragraph identifier puts that into question. The data don't provide any information about who he or any other officer talked to, including race, gender, or age. It also doesn't say how many people were involved in the interactions or what was positive about the encounters. So I would just wonder why the police cameras that they're wearing, the chest cams that they're wearing, wouldn't help confirm that. Unless, I don't know, are those cameras only activated once they answer a...
Then that would also be a jobs program, just to hire all the people to verify all the good deeds.
There you go.
I mean, how
That's
many
great jobs?
I mean, you would need
those TIF funds, Lori Leprechaun.
Well,
I mean, you probably. I mean, one person could maybe do, you know, two or three officers daily things. You know, that's a lot of jobs.
Yeah, it certainly is. Pacheco, who has been a Chicago cop since 2018, declined to comment on those 104 PCIs that he logged that day. He was named in a federal lawsuit filed by 21-year-old Alicia Moatan, an activist who accused Pacheco and other officers of wrongfully arresting her during a racial justice demonstration downtown in August of 2020. Moatan said she was sprayed with a chemical agent and groped by an officer during a search, then knocked down by police and called obscenities as Pacheco and other officers took her into custody. God, I wonder why they didn't.
How many PCIs does that qualify as, Jerry?
Thank you. You beat me to it. The suit was dismissed this month after a settlement was reached. A person familiar with the matter told the Sun-Times Pacheco was removed as a defendant 2 days before that. I wonder how much that cost us, that settlement. Whew. Can I bring? Yeah, I can bring your screen back up because there's a graphic there. There we go. There's a map showing the increase in positive interaction calls in Chicago. The map below shows the increase in positive interaction calls by police district. Every district saw a soaring rate of calls between 2020 and 2021, with the 10th district seeing by far the largest increase, and that's the pie slice on the far west side. Now, it's impossible to assess. About 33,000 of the nearly 628,000 PCIs logged since 2020, about 5.3% of the calls don't have an officer's name listed, and about 3.8% don't include an officer's star number. The location listed for the interactions also is inconsistently reported. Some give the block address, while others list the name of a location, such as a restaurant or generic train station. I'm going to jump forward because, stats are boring. We kind of get the gist of it. The poor record keeping was noted in the Attorney General Office's memo, which said that has plagued similar programs across the country, making it impossible to assess and learn how these departments can continue to improve. In setting the goal for the new year, Brown said PCIs were tools for engaging the community and building trust. Lightfoot lauded the effort. Can I just call her Leprechaun this week since it's St. Patty's Day? Leprechaun.
Of course you can. Why not? Go ahead.
Leprechaun.
Caesar gives the pass.
I think someone in the chat called her Lori Lightprecaun.
Leprechaun lauded the effort, saying community trust is the secret sauce to solving crimes. What a metaphor to use. But the Attorney General, I don't want to go there anymore, but the Attorney General's office warned that setting a goal or quota for PCIs risks exacerbating known disparities in trust levels between certain communities and CPD. Without a carefully crafted program and training, the memo said, officers will prioritize interactions with residents who are easier to engage rather than those who are distrustful of the police. Officers also might be driven to, quote, misconduct, fraud, and corruption. You think? Making up or wrongly describing their actions to meet the requirements according to the memo. Supervisors focused on meeting the goals might wrongly encourage or tolerate misreporting, fraud, and other misconduct, it said. Ed, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a new jobs program. Dip into those tip funds, Mayor Leprechaun. Just before the January 4th news conference, Brown and Lightfoot had threatened to demote supervisors who couldn't deliver more PCIs and arrest, the Sun-Times reported. So this is more about optics for Brown and Lightfoot than actual factual interactions that can properly be documented. The Attorney General's office urged the department to develop a system to audit PCIs to eliminate the potential fraud or abuse. Big chart down there related to the article. Yeah, there's a lot more here, but I think I kind of presented what's going on here. Kit, what are some of your thoughts?
Well, I'm not surprised with what you've reported on. Again, great job on this. This is reaffirming in my belief that Lightfoot's got to go. Everything that we're seeing here. She's got to leave. I know right now we're clowning on her dressing up like a damn leprechaun, but her incompetence.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine because I want everyone to see just how incompetent our mayor is, how corrupt our mayor is. You know, wait, let me take the back. Not corrupt. She's just willfully ignorant right now to the situation at hand, and yet she wants to play these little dress-up games, and then when people call her out, she gets sensitive about it. This isn't a laughing matter to me because how she represents our city is how the nation looks at us, and Lightfoot is just playing a game. She's having fun. She's having fun while everything is falling apart.
Her power. It's about the power is clearly gone to her head. Many of us gave her benefit of the doubt when we voted for her because she was a federal prosecutor who seemed to be paying attention to police misconduct, but how quickly the wind blows. Where Pilgrim asked, did the local Chicago BLM say anything about the Jessie sentence? I haven't heard anything. Guys, have you had your ear to the ground on if local BLM has said anything about that?
No.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, let me move on to our next story here. We reported on this last week, and I want to thank friend of the show, Kathy Powers, for alerting me to this in an email. We reported last week that there were going to be a series of, I just lost the link. There were going to be a series of town hall Zoom meetings across the city in different neighborhoods where citizens could participate in trying to examine and share solutions to reducing crime in neighborhoods, but that was canceled. The whole thing was canceled. Documenters were scheduled to cover a virtual Southwest Side Community Safety Town Hall this weekend, but the office of the mayor has postponed it and 4 future town halls in order to plan in-person events. Now, this all in the face of her, in our next story, talking about how COVID hasn't gone away. So let's cancel the Zoom calls and let's do in-person town halls instead. I don't understand. It's like one day she's here, the next day she's there. I don't know. Well, actually, I do think I know the reason for canceling these town halls that were supposed to start the other day, as we'll get to in another story, our next story. A virtual Northwest Side Town Hall held last Wednesday featured presentations on crime data and violence prevention efforts. Additional postponed events were to be geared towards the Southwest and City Center near North Sides. One citywide event in Spanish was also planned. The town halls were initially scheduled for March 9th through the 19th as of this writing. New dates have not been announced. Now, let's speculate here. All right, let me bring up the other Twitter link that kind of relates to this. Now, what did she say a moment ago? They canceled the Zoom meetings so that they could have more in-person stuff. While she says, but let me be clear, the pandemic is not over. Every week we're still seeing 10 to 15 of our residents die every week because of the pandemic, most of them unvaccinated, and many of the people of color. All right, that came from Kelly Bauer. She tweeted that.
Was
Meanwhile,
an interesting choice of words that she used there because it makes it sound like she's saying one thing, but she's not actually saying that thing.
Yep.
She's blaming the pandemic, but then she follows it up by implying that it's because people are unvaccinated. Those are two separate issues potentially, because we're dealing with economic issues, we're dealing with political issues, and then we're dealing with all the crazy lockdowns and people's economic situations. It's some weird playbook on Team Blue that's just trying to get people to keep pushing this one narrative that we've already seen a bunch of holes being poked through.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
let's
see what.
Let's
see what. Go ahead. Well, really quickly before you let me just also add to this, and it might relate to what you're going to share. Alex Nitkin from Twitter reported Chicago's mayor is here at City Hall giving a COVID update on the 2-year anniversary of lockdown. Says we're in a better place now than we've ever been since the pandemic took hold, but the pandemic is not over. The virus is still killing 10 to 15 Chicagoans weekly. Nitkin also went on to report Lightfoot says she won't be at tomorrow's special city council meeting to consider natural immunity as part of COVID mitigation vaccination requirements because she has a long-standing commitment to be out of town. And you know what her priority is to be out of town, as Alex reports. Where's the tweet? She'll be off in Miami on a fundraising trip.
Cha-ching.
Ka-ching.
Yep. That's the priority. She's running again, guys.
That's on
She's
there.
running in all of Chicago.
Well, Jerry, that bean isn't going to fund itself, and I don't know if there's enough money left in the TIF funds for me to do that, so I have to go to Miami. Allegedly.
You also forgot to remind me that your dick is bigger than mine.
Lightfoot. No, my dick is the biggest one swinging in all of Chicago. No one ever fight against me. I'll take it out and measure it against all of you. That's our mayor.
I'm reminded of that quote from Apocalypse Now. The horror. The horror.
The horror.
All right, let's move on to our next story. We're kind of coming to our final stories. This is actually a community service announcement, as reported by Block Club Chicago. Very troubling, very alarming. I hope that sharing this with everybody tonight might help this family find their dear missing family member. I'll bring this up. Coming from Block Club Chicago is reported by Jake Wittich. Family of a missing transgender activist, Elise Malari, asks public for help and search. There's Elise. Malari, 31, stopped answering texts and calls Wednesday. Relatives said, an Evanston resident, she has worked at Chicago Therapy Collective in Andersonville, Equality Illinois, and AIDS Foundation of Chicago. Family and friends are appealing to the public for help after a prominent trans activist went missing last week. Elise Malari was last heard from around 9 a.m. Wednesday, her sister Fabiana Malari said. Malari lives in Evanston and has been an active LGBTQ advocate on the far north side and throughout the city. The two sisters had been texting about Fabiana Malari's mortgage payment because Elise Malari offered to help pay it this month. Fabiana Malari said, but by 9 p.m., Elise Malari stopped replying to her texts and calls to her phone, started going straight to voicemail, Fabiana said. Usually Elise is very organized and sends me receipts when she pays everything, Fabiana said. I started to get worried because she didn't do that, and when her phone started going straight to voicemail, I got really worried. Fabiana Malari waited 2 days to see if her sister would get back to her and filed missing persons report with Evanston police on Friday, Fabiana Malari said. I once upon a time filed a missing persons report when my ex-wife disappeared for a long period of time because it was so utterly out of character for her to not check in, especially since she was relying on me to pick her up because we only had one car at that time. And I cannot tell you guys the terror that goes through a person's mind when they think that something has happened to a loved one, that they are forced to go to the police station and file a missing persons report because they've run out of options and they're utterly terrified to take this step. Clearly, is because this is out of the ordinary, and I my heart goes out to Fabiana here. Evanston police officials said the investigation is ongoing, but there are no signs of foul play. Her family and friends said they wanted to spread the word broadly to help find Elise Smallett. I still hadn't heard anything from her, and I was freaking out, Fabiana said. I'm worried and started to feel like something is wrong because this is not like Elise. This is not her normal behavior. Elise Smallett is about 6 feet tall and weighs about 145 pounds, her sister said. Detectives told Fabiana they visited Elise's apartment in Evanston and found both front and back doors were unlocked. Police told Fabiana her sister had sent an email to her boss the day she went missing to quit her job at the Civil Rights Bureau of the Illinois Attorney General office, she said. That was a rather shocking thing for me because she loves her job so much, Fabiana Malari said. I'm very confused with what's been going on, and I'm still trying to put the pieces together to figure out where my sister is. It's a nice picture of them together. Angelina Nordstrom, one of Elise Malari's close friends, said Malari is a fierce advocate for the transgender community and has worked for years to serve its needs. Elise Smallett is a board member of the Andersonville-based Chicago Therapy Collective, which aims to alleviate LGBTQ health disparities through education, therapy, advocacy, and the arts. She's also worked as a communications associate for Equality Illinois and intern for the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, according to her LinkedIn. She was among several organizers who rallied around Andersonville bookstore Women and Children First in 2019 when anti-trans stickers were put on the store's front windows for weeks. The Chicago Therapy Collective was the bookstore's upstairs neighbor. We're drawing trans affirmative art all over the sidewalk just to show everyone that Andersonville is still trans welcoming, trans inclusive, and trans safe, Elise Malari told ABC7. Elise Malari is also one of several people who will receive a Transgender Visibility Award at the upcoming Chicago Trans Visibility pageant organized by Life is Work, a Black and brown trans-led social services agency on the West Side. Nordstrom said they last saw Malari February 5th at the annual Equality Illinois Gala, but Elise Malari has requested some space because she was going through a lot. Elise Malari has been struggling to cope with the death of her father, who died February 8th after about 2 years of illness. Man, it just gets sadder. Ever since we buried our father on March 4th, she's been very distant and not answering my texts as often. Fabiana Malari said, wherever she is and whatever she's going through, I just want her to know that I love her, we miss her, and we care about her. Nordstrom echoed Fabiana Malari's concern. I want Elise to know that she's loved and whatever obstacles she's navigating, she does not have to face them by herself. Elise has an entire community and a best friend who wants to see her through the challenges and the most despondent moments she may be feeling during this tough time in her life. Fabiana Malari asked for anyone with information on Elise Malari's whereabouts to contact Evanston Police Detective Bureau at 847-866-5040. That's in our show notes related to this article below. She also asked for people to respect her family's privacy during this time. Alderwoman Haddon also shared a quote regarding, or a tweet regarding this. So yeah, just kind of putting the word out there. I hope she's all right. I hope wherever she is, she's safe. I hope that this doesn't develop into a situation where there's been foul play involved, but anybody in the community that might recognize her or have some information, I hope that they would step forward and help out.
Agreed. 100%.
Oh, did the cat get adopted who was featured on the show? Yes, we did. My friend Bethan passed it along to a foster program, and they did find a family for that little one. Thank you for asking.
Very good.
Let's see here. Looking at the live chat to see if there's any interesting comments, because I love integrating our viewers in our conversations. Okay, yeah, a little bit late regarding the stories, but yeah, I don't think any of them do. Kate, to recognize Jessie on the street so easily.
While
they're trying their bleach and lynching.
Watch Empire
supplies.
They're never going to do that.
No.
Never. Never.
The worst of them. All right, so let's go to our last story. This is kind of a feel-good story, I think, as far as one of our local schools trying to do some good during this crisis facing the entire world. I will bring up the screen here. St. Nicholas Cathedral School needs supplies donations to support students arriving from the Ukraine. 8 students from Ukraine have enrolled at the school in the past week. Its principal said about 80% of students at St. Nicholas have Ukrainian heritage. This comes from Quinn Myers at Block Club Chicago. Now, interestingly enough, although on more of a national level, apparently Kamala Harris was asked at a recent press conference regarding U.S. Aid to Ukrainians who are arriving from Ukraine during the war. Let me show that clip real quick because I enjoy Jimmy. Kit, we all enjoy Jimmy, right? Pop this up.
United States willing to make a specific allocation for Ukrainian refugees. And for President Duda, I wanted to know if you think, and if you asked the United States to specifically accept more refugees.
A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Okay, I can first. Okay, so this time.
Don't come. She should have just ended with "Don't come." It's like she's an audience member at a sitcom taping, and she has to laugh on cue when nothing's funny.
Well, while Kamala has no answers, at least this school in Ukrainian Village does. A Ukrainian Village Catholic school is appealing to the community for help supporting students who have fled Ukraine during the Russian invasion. St. Nicholas Cathedral School at 2200 West Rice Street is holding a donation drive for school supplies, clothes, and shoes, toiletries, and toys for kids to play with at home to help students settle into their new school and city. The school also started an Amazon wish list where people can buy specific items. New or gently used supplies can be dropped off at the school directly. St. Nicholas is also raising money to cover tuition, tutoring, and additional counseling and services for the new students. Donations are being collected through the Big Shoulders Fund, a Chicago-based nonprofit that supports St. Nicholas and other Catholic schools. Requests for support from St. Nicholas Cathedral and families are already coming in. Our hope is that this support will help families find peace, settle in, and make it through this extremely trying time, according to the fundraising website. About 80% of students at St. Nicholas have Ukrainian heritage, Principal Anna Cirilli said. More than 20% were born in Ukraine, she said. St. Nicholas typically welcomes about 2 new families a year from Ukraine, Cirilli said, but in the past week, St. Nicholas has enrolled 8 students who have left Ukraine since February 24th, and the school is preparing for more, Cirilli says. St. Nicholas has about 160 students, but could accept as many as 50 more if necessary, Cirilli said. All of our families have direct ties to Ukraine. The parents have sisters and brothers over there, and the parents had their own parents over there. So yeah, we're expecting students, Cirilli said. What we're really trying to navigate is what's our capacity. St. Nicholas is the parish school attached to St. Nicholas Ukrainian Catholic Cathedral, long a community anchor in Ukrainian Village. The church offers daily masses in Ukrainian. Cirilli said that the war has hit students very hard. St. Nicholas students have sent videos and artwork to Ukrainian soldiers. Last month, 8th graders organized a candlelit vigil to pray for peace in Ukraine. I've told a lot of people the morning drop-off on Tuesday, February 24th, was the hardest moment of my life as a principal. To see the anguish on so many people's faces, they couldn't even speak, and so our students were having a hard time with that, seeing their parents like that, and also understanding this is impacting people that they know in Ukraine. Any questions about the fundraiser or donation drive can be sent to the admin at stnicschicago.org. Now, listen, there are a lot of sides to what's happening in this conflict, and blame can be placed at both Putin and at both the U.S., the United States of America's policies in that region. But what's often lost in all of this as we debate how we got here are the refugees. Are these people who are losing their homes, these families who are separated. This should be of attention during any conflict. In Ukraine, I don't remember if there was as much aid being provided or promoted for many of the refugees that suffered from the Iraq War.
Or Syria, or Libya.
Presently,
Yemen.
Right? I applaud the students at St. Nicholas. I really hope that their efforts are successful. But yeah, as we just said, Syria and all these other regions, short of the fact that maybe we should just stop these fucking wars, figure out how to well, as you said, Kit, it's just time to fucking clean house. Clean. And often I am so overwhelmed at the fact that we can't get money out of politics, which is the root of protecting so many of these corrupt incumbents on a federal level, on a state level, on a local level. But look, there's good work being done by the students at St. Nick. Chicago isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here. And I really applaud them and wanted to share that story because I think that people should know and hopefully be able to participate in donating and helping their efforts there.
I want to say this, just to reiterate your point, all wars are bullshit. And when it comes down to these politicians who are in charge, it's rich people telling poor people to fight. This conflict in Ukraine, the only innocent people are civilians, especially the people in Ukraine, the Russian civilians dealing with these sanctions, because sanctions only hurt the people. Then there's the civilians in Europe that are at risk. Then there's civilians here in America, all around. And all this generosity towards the Ukrainian refugees, great. I would like to see that reciprocated towards the refugees in Yemen, Syria, Palestine, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and everywhere else. Don't give me a double standard. And I don't want to hear Kamala be like, well, don't come. Well, no, Kamala.
Yeah, he was kidding. Jimmy was kidding. Let's also make sure everybody knows he was being sarcastic because that's what she said. Who did she say that to?
She said that to the Ecuadorian and other Central American refugees leaving their countries due to the fact that the United States is still implementing the war on drugs, doing sanctions and regime change wars and coups in Central and South America.
They're not welcome. We made the mess, and they're not welcome here.
Yes, that's our vice president, folks. Zero delegates.
Failing upward, as they often do.
Yes.
Before we close the show, Kid, any interesting news updates you want to share with our viewers?
There's going to be a little bit of some shakeup happening at Hard Lens Media. Some new changes going on. Can't talk too much about it.
Okay.
There's some great stuff happening at 99 Perspective Studios. So if you haven't checked out 99 Perspective Studios, you should do so. We had a great open house, and some good things are coming. But I'm gotta be quiet. Same thing with World Perspective Radio Chicago. Good things are coming. The only way you're gonna know is if you subscribe to us on all those platforms. But I know some inside baseball. I have to be quiet.
Kit loves his secrets. He loves being able to share, keep people in suspense until he's ready to make the announcement. But, I have to say, too, I have forgotten, I think over the past several weeks, once I close the show, to really ask our viewers and encourage them to please share our channel. I know most of you, I'm assuming all of you have liked and subscribed to be able to get our updates when we're going live every night or twice a week. But if you could please share our links on social media, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, we'd like to build our audience more, especially to viewers here in Chicago, to comment on what's going on here and stimulate the conversation and get your thoughts also in the live chat. Ed, anything from you that you'd like to share?
Well, you can go to 99perspectives.tv and check out all the great channels there, like Chicago Corner, Hardlands Media, and World Perspectives Radio, and the other channels. Hard Lens is now on Twitch. That's news.
Yeah.
And then we got our other the gaming Twitch channel, which Kit is also on, called Chicago Plays.
When is Chicago Plays broadcasting, Kit? Because I think I was talking with Kira, and there might be a conflict with when it broadcasts. Because I want to come on a Twitch and play a game, and Kira wants to comment behind me or tell me how to play the game for fun.
1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Oh, it's 1 o'clock. What day?
On Saturdays.
All right, maybe if there's a way I can like join you guys. Kira and I can come on and do something fun.
This Saturday is going to be a little different.
I'm not going to watch it, but at least I know. I thought it was a weekday, so I was worried about the conflict with what we do here.
No, but this Saturday's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to basically be working at the studio all day on Saturday. I got a lot of I'm going to be a guest on 2 different shows.
Which that's what you can't talk about yet?
Yeah, well, no, that I'm going to promote actually tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow's show. But
Can you give us one exclusive?
Oh, who show I'm going to be on?
Yeah.
Oh, Revolutionary Blackout Network.
Awesome.
All right. But then there's a few others. Indie Left, and then also good friend of the show, Sarcasm Stardust. She has her show now on radio. She has a radio show now, which is great. And she's invited me on at 2 p.m. on Monday to be on a radio show. Can't wait to be part.
That's the Misty Winston show on,
Yes.
what's it called? Is it TNT?
TNT, yes.
Yeah.
So there we go. So those are 3 shows, but that I could talk about. The other stuff I can't talk about.
Okay. Kathy Powers reports. Kathy's got some news. Tomorrow is the Labor Relation Board hearing with CTU, and she will be there. It starts at 10 a.m. Hey, that's something else we should do. Viewers, fans, friends, if you've got any community announcements, share them in the chat. We can start sharing those at the end of our broadcasts on Tuesdays and Fridays. And I was just about to ask Ed, why haven't you had a career in radio with those pipes?
I had a couple false starts earlier in my employment career trying to get into radio, but it's just it wasn't in the cards at the time. It's a lot of times it's timing and having being able to support yourself until you're able to actually support yourself on like a radio industry salary. And
yes,
it's every time I manage to get connected to someone who's doing anything even remotely in media, I mention to them, I'm like, look, man, if you need somebody to do some voices or voiceovers, I'd love to be a voice in a cartoon. That would be really cool to do someday. I'm happy to narrate stuff for you guys. If you've tuned into World Perspectives Radio, you hear my voice usually at the top of the hour or whenever the station ID comes on.
Your bumpers are great.
I'm hoping that I can find some more time to help Lainey out with those. You never know what's in the near future. I haven't updated my voice reel in a while, so I'm going to take some of the stuff that I have and some of the new pieces that I have available and combine with some of the older stuff that I've done, and let's see if anybody's interested in getting a deep dish pizza enthusiast in on their project. And speaking of deep dish pizza,
oh yes, we had something saved for the end of the show here.
Oh yes, I have a website called realdeepdish.com. If you want to learn how to make Chicago style pizza at home, it's actually pretty easy to make deep dish pizza. And
easier than you think, I guess, from what Ed shares.
Yeah, and if you wanted to see, there was a deep dish cam we did on Extra Bulla other night. That was kind of fun. It'd be nice to maybe incorporate some remote mobile cams into some future broadcasts if we can handle the bandwidth. But it was nice to test that out on Warren's stream. And
I have a theory on why people are so intimidated trying to make deep dish or any kind of pizza at home, because they're so used to how easy it is to go out and get it. Carry out dining. They think that it's probably more complicated than it really is.
Well, the most daunting part is just taking the time to make the pizza dough. Yeah. Some people don't want to take that extra time, but it's like once you've got a decent dough recipe and you got that dough together, then it's just a matter of practicing with your oven at home. Figure out if you got the right amount of ingredients, and every time you bake a pizza, it's going to be maybe a little bit different, but it'll probably still be pretty good. But you just got to try. If you like to bake, if you like to cook, and you're a fan of pizza, deep dish pizza is one of those styles you should try to make at home at least once in your life.
I think I'm going to try it. I'm going to have to consult with you and try it at home, and maybe have a deep dish party where I make the pizza and have you and Kit and everyone, other friends over.
Pizza parties are fun because then you can, you could make a couple batches of dough ahead of time, keep them in the fridge, and then when your friends come over, they can help you make pizzas, choose the toppings, make a whole night out of it.
There you go.
Ed, did you have a special St. Patrick's Day missive to share, or are we saving that for another time?
Oh, well, I mean, I have to check and see I have to check and see if I still have that thing there, but I don't. Hey, what the heck is going on here? Why are you guys tempting fate by streaming on the Ides of March? Don't you know that's a dangerous thing?
What? Hey, how's Caesar doing? Is he still upset with what happened with Brutus and Cicero and all the rest kind of taking him out?
Ba ba da ba ba da. Didn't you guys know that song? Ba ba da ba ba da. Well, I'm your friendly ghost with a wooden leg. Won't you hop inside my barn? I invented a cow who makes chocolate milk, and my city won't come to no harm. I'm innocent, baby. I didn't start no fire. I'm innocent, baby, and by now I'm sure you know that I'm peg leg, beer man, and Santa framed me for that fire. Great fire in the cove, and I know I love Chicago. Am I gonna get sued for that?
I think we need to drag you into the recording booth over at the studio.
Yep.
We need to find the karaoke music track for that song, and we need to record you in the studio and marry that with the instrumental. So we've got a proper version of that song to play here.
Oh yeah, I think Jim Peterick might hunt me down if I try to do that though.
And you know what? I might be able to help you out with that, Mr. Pegleg, because I made a promise on Chicago Reacts that I was going to learn how to play the guitar. I was going to be miserable. I never learned how to play it, and I'm thinking about this spring buying a little guitar and learning how to play finally. So there we go.
All right.
So there you go, Peg. You might have. Could I join your band?
You're in, man.
All right, there you go.
Kathy says you need to copyright your spoof before somebody steals it, because
yes, there you go.
Had that experience where people have stolen her lyrics and her poetry.
Yeah, the problem, Kathy, is that I don't know if ghosts are allowed to copyright things anymore. We may be, when we're in the ethereal plane, I think everything is public domain.
Ah, okay.
Plus, Peterick is going to want a piece of that.
A little piece of the action. Guys, thanks for joining me tonight. I know we had a lot of serious stuff to report, but hopefully we were able to break some of the tension with our demented humor. What do I have to report here? I guess nothing else. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. And I'm gonna have Oreo here do our outro. Remember? Can you do it for me, buddy? Let's go up here. Remember, everybody. Be vigilant. Stay safe. Watch out for each other. Take care of each other. And if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a safe week. We'll be back on Friday. Not sure what's going to be transpiring before then. But whatever it is, we'll be reporting on it. And you will all be welcome to participate in the live chat, contribute, and join us. And we'll see you this Friday. Stay safe this week. Good night, everybody.